vision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Era TT Radio. Net Radio.
Outside is an ocean of love. All that we align up to the stars up above. Let we dance now. Take a chance now with me. And we go jump till morning. Look, the moon gone sleeping. Tell them we not leaving till the last drop of a canal is madness in the capital. So I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again. Live with all my friends and them. No place like home. 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 I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again. Live with all my friends and them. No place like home. 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 Now is the time for it to jam on somebody. Hand up in the air. Madness everywhere. It in with DNA. To get on bad when we on the roadway. We like we on way. Tell them freedom in with DNA. When every hand raised, we become one race. It's only one stage. This is the birthplace. Look where we are. Greatest carnival. So magical. It's a blessing sent from above. And we go jump till morning. Look, the moon gone sleeping. Tell them we not leaving till the last drop of a canal is madness in the capital. So I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again. Live with all my friends and them. No place like home. 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 I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again. Live with all my friends and them. No place like home. 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 Now is the time for it to jam on somebody. Hand up in the air. Madness everywhere. It in with DNA. So jump up, play a mass. Wind up in the van. Free up, live your life. And do whatever you like. Whoa, yeah, yo, you're mashing up in with DNA. Whoa, yeah, yo, you're winding up in with DNA. Whoa, yeah, yo, when we on the roadway. We like the roadway.
Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
All right, everybody, and of course, this is where we start your day right here on the Era TT Radio. Good morning, Trinidad. Good morning to Tobago, neighbors in the Caribbean, friends who are streaming all around the globe. It's really good to have you on this midweek Wednesday morning. I got to say much thanks to the Heavenly Father for bringing us together for another day, and everything that we do, dear God, let it be a blessing on to you. People, I'm your straight Sir Charles, and happy am I to be here with my colleagues as we welcome you to our Get Up and Go. This is your breakfast show.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line. Let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show energy everywhere. We talk
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Breakfast Show on this wonderful Wednesday morning, midweek. And of course, it should be a smile on your face because we are heading towards the weekend. And of course, coming close to the end of the month, because today is what, the 25th? 5th of
Hold
June,
it today.
2025. So we are zooming towards the end of June. And then, of course, the beginning of summer vacation or August vacation, whatever the hell you want to call it. It doesn't matter to me as summer, August, wherever. People getting tense about it. I don't. It matters not. Whatever makes you happy, you call it whatever the hell you want. But it's coming. But better for us is that schools go on vacation, and so there's less traffic on the road because we all know that school children drive all over the place apparently.
You're sure right.
So there'll be less traffic and stuff on the road, and we always look forward to that. So a special good morning to you wherever you're listening to us from, Trinidad and Tobago, up the Caribbean, and of course wherever you are on planet Earth. Hopefully you are in a non-troubled part of the planet, which seems to be dwindling these days. But hopefully wherever you are, we put a smile on your face, and thanks for choosing us on this Wednesday morning. Good morning, Wendell. Good morning, Sir Charles.
Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. I heard a loud shower of rain in Arima just now, but it seems to have dissipated. You know, I'm seeing a little ray of sunshine. So hopefully it'll be a nice day. Of course, we're happy to be in the land of the living. Happy birthday to those celebrating birthdays today. I'll call their names after. And of course, for those who would have lost loved ones, today is actually the funeral of our darling Gemma. Her funeral takes place at 1:30 p.m. this afternoon at church in Samaru Village. I will repeat that a little later on before we are finished. But yeah, other than that, we're happy to be here and of course to join you all on the Breakfast Show. A lot of things happened yesterday. Donald Trump went viral yesterday.
Good. But as a result of that Israel-Iran issue, and he said it was a ceasefire, and of course, the ceasefire.
When I first saw it on someone's status, I know AI has been so miserable and so how I should put it, provocative with him in particular. Because there are several AI videos with him, right? But I thought it was AI, and then I saw it trending, and I said, but this is real. He actually cussed. I don't know that I've ever heard a world leader let out expletive like that. I don't know that has ever happened. Maybe it has.
Duarte in the Philippines.
Duterte.
Yeah, he used to cuss left, right, and center.
But I don't know that I ever saw of him cussing.
And you had Duterte, and then you had you've had open mic situations where things have slipped. Maybe not as
he meant to cuss.
No, but this wasn't a slip. This wasn't an open mic talking to somebody and saying, "Hey, he's a real idiot or a real asshole." Whatever. No, that wasn't it. This wasn't open. This was a clear. This is what I think, and I see it.
He said they don't know what they're. You say it, Richard. You're always saying it.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
So the
but you know what? Now
I will say the other words. You will say the curse word.
Let me just say that this is a good time for our good news.
The right thing is to do. How can you be virtuous in any situation if you don't know what kindness, generosity, and courage actually mean? Well, one of the greatest philosophers of all time has some guidance to offer. Aristotle argued that if you are to be happy and fulfilled in life, then you have to be virtuous. And so the question, what does virtue mean, becomes supremely important because it's essential to a good life. Aristotle gives two answers, an easy way and a hard way. The easy way, for those less philosophically inclined or those a bit time-strapped, is to imitate virtuous people. What would your grandmother do? What would Jesus or the Buddha do? Find somebody in your life who's wise and has practical wisdom and imitate them. But the harder way and the purer way is to reflect on the golden mean, because Aristotle thought that virtues lie between two extremes, the extreme of excess and the extreme of deficiency. Courage, for example, lies between recklessness and cowardice. Generosity lies between miserliness and profligacy. And so if you want to be kind, imagine what the cruel thing would be, and imagine what the patronizing, infantilizing thing would be, and do the thing between those extremes. So what virtues are you struggling with, and what virtues do you want to develop? And how can you use Aristotle's golden mean to help?
A bit of, good news, wisdom for you there this morning, to ponder upon, how virtuous you actually are, how much you are just saying, I wonder what X would do or Y would do, or do you, think about it, and is it intentional? Those things, human behavior, a complex thing that deserves this word.
You telling me?
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
I can listen to that video. I can listen and watch that over and over and over. Honestly. Because so many times I've wanted to tell you.
Really be part of our good news. Let me close up my good news. So for those of you who didn't see Donald Trump in full form,
give us it again, Richard.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Long time I ain't agree with Donald Trump, Long time I have not agreed with Donald Trump.
Is as frank as they get.
I think the whole world agreed with him yesterday.
Oh my God.
But I like
troubled planet that we're on sometimes. There's so many, there's so many beautiful things about life. And human beings can be so beautiful and wonderful at times. And then sometimes it can be so nasty and horrible and disgusting. Yes, it's like a mix. The most consistently beautiful thing on the planet is probably the planet itself. And the planet itself could turn monster when it's ready.
Yes, we've seen that. We've seen that too.
Okay, when it's ready to turn monster, it's turn monster.
Mm-hmm. Take out of thousands of people in one.
When it's ready.
But I have to admit, that is a level of frustration that came out yesterday from the leader of the free world. You understand? That is a level of frustration that I'm sure everyone experiences at some point in time about some situation in their life.
So you admit that you are cursed bird then?
No, I don't curse, but I telling you,
Lord. You all can collectively roll your eyes, yes.
No, I don't
admit it aloud.
I don't curse. I wouldn't curse somebody just like that. It just wouldn't happen with me. As angry as I get sometimes, I won't curse somebody like that. So, but I have to admit, I feel like doing it on many occasions. You understand? But I generally restrain myself from cursing out loud.
Drink my coffee and mind my business.
No, seriously, I nobody could call me a cuss, but that I curse them. Very rarely would I blurt out a curse. Very rarely.
Oh, so it does happen sometimes.
No, it has happened.
Okay, because you're saying you said you don't, so now you're qualifying it.
No, I'm right. So I'm qualifying it. Very rarely would I.
Sometimes you do or have.
I have done it.
Okay, thank you. That's all we need to.
Oh Jesus!
And there's a big difference between don't and never have it.
Thank you, Sir Charles.
No, I say I don't generally curse. I don't.
No, that's what I'm saying. I support you. That's why I say you said don't. You never said you never did. So
no,
I support you.
Exactly. I don't curse. Cursing doesn't come natural to me. Like it's come natural to some people.
Except that sometimes you have.
You see, like it's come natural to you and Corey.
So you say I don't curse. so your complete answer is I don't curse usually, but sometimes I have.
I have before. Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't curse usually, but sometimes I have.
Yes, so that's me. Let's go to
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Let's do you. You and that fella called Corey Pascal, all they just cuss tinkering.
Human beings are too wound up in their underwear about cursing. Cursing is the English language. It could be the word mop. And cursing is the value you give to words. Okay? So the value that a society has given to a word. So if the word was mop, okay, all of a sudden people will be, oh my God, he said the word mop on national television. Oh my God, because we have given value to the word mop. So it's all about the value that you give to a word. So it's really kind of nonsensical and stupid. So if I decided the value for the word is the word mop is now an obscene word, and I say, Randall, mop you, you're a mopping idiot. People are now watching it will go, oh my God, children, get inside. Oh my God, they're cursing on the breakfast show. Oh my God, what have they come to? Because we are all mopping stupid at some point in our lives. And I'm just saying that the value, it's like you're giving a value to this word. If an alien come down from another planet and saying the word mop, all of a sudden people, oh, the alien cursed. Oh, we got the curse anymore. What mop is going on here? Oh my God, he cursed again. Yeah. Human beings is dumb and stupid.
I'm agreeing with you there, Richard, especially in light of the fact that police officers, not just here, well, mostly here, I don't know if it happens at other places, use that as a charge to get at people sometimes.
Well, we have always said on this show that charge, I think your mic went off and down.
My mic, no.
Oh no, it's on. I just think we have always said that charge of obscene language should be off the books.
Yeah.
It's silly. It's also incompatible, quite frankly, with freedom of speech. That's my opinion. Who vex? I don't know. One sip some coffee and calm down.
No.
But it should come off the books because it's used, it's weaponized.
It's weaponized. Yeah, I agree. And
let
me tell you something. The odd occasion that I have actually used obscene language to someone in anger, right? They have taken great offense to it, because when they look curse, you cuss me there. But people will be cussing me all the time.
But curse words, like any other words, is contextual. So let's use the word mop. Wendell, I real mopping love you. That's one word. So Charles, right, I real mopping love you. Okay, that's fine. Then Wendell, you're getting me mopping vex. And then the hell mop you. Or oh God, boy, mop you.
Oh, what the mop you really doing there?
Context.
Yeah, context. I agree.
Context.
Yeah.
Everybody's got in a frenzy. Oh my God. You yourself, oh, I don't curse. And so Charles probably say that, oh, I am always praying to Jesus, so I don't curse. What?
Get about taste of the president of the free world question and take out the bleep. No bleep it.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that? No, that is not cursing someone. That's a context he uses it in. He's not cursing.
Frustration. That's frustration. That's
frustration. Yeah. And if I have cursed before, it's out of frustration.
Language is language. It's how we communicate. And sometimes there is no other appropriate word but the word mop.
Mop. Exactly.
and then according to where you are, you can say, well, that was a good mop.
You could.
Well, that's a different place you are in now.
Or you can simply tell somebody, mop me.
Oh, when is the next mop?
I've used it that way.
Oh Lord, let's say good morning to our listeners. Let me get good morning to our listeners, please.
With all this rain, you can do that good mop.
Here we go down the rabbit hole.
Let's
start with Susan.
You know, if you mop 3 times a week, they say it's like burning 30. It's like
You have
running 30
you have a
miles.
real dirty house boy, a real mopping.
All right, let's start. Suzanne Jessup says she came in at 12 a.m. Morning, Suzanne, from Suzanne, Suzette, and Miss Gemma. She says a good topic. I guess she meant, I don't know what she meant there. Joyce Phillips says, top of the morning. Erica Charles, thank God for life. Melissa from Charlotte says, good morning. Doreen Pierre, Marlon Motley,
Morning, Marlon.
Boy Bidesi from Debe, Wendy and James said, I thought we had a text in from midnight for it to count. Otherwise, I could text in at 6 p.m. the previous. Yeah, it is at 12:01. Some people go a little extreme end. Yeah. Sherwin and Juliet Kerr says a hearty good morning to the breakfast team.
Good morning, guys.
CJ from New York says good morning. Happy hump day. Have a fantastic day. You see, and she could have put happy mop there, you know.
Good morning, CJ.
No context, eh? Carol Guevara says good morning. Katian Charles also says good morning. Robert Taylor, Ann Noel, Rena Jennings, Brent Hackshaw, Ozzy Molino. You heard it this time, Richard?
Yes,
Julia Batiste, Cheryl Johnson, Valerie Mendoza, Odell Guy, DL Lambert Bruce, Diane Payne, Ingrid from Tucson, Rena Jennings, Anne-Marie Watson, Richard Jemmett, and his mother Josephine. All right, so it's Richard and Josephine Jemmett, but Josephine is his mother, people. Yeah. Wayne Ramsey.
Good morning, Josephine.
Siobhan Shogun, Frank Clark, Robert Harper. Yes. Okay. Yes, Siobhan. Slick Money Grip. DL, Robert Harper, Wendell, quick question. Who's responsible for repairing roads in Port of Spain? The Port of Spain Corporation, it's in today's, I'm sure I saw it in today's papers, the corporation, I saw it on Facebook, patching roads in several parts of Port of Spain. So it is the Port of Spain Corporation, Robert.
Right? I just talking about roads, Ministry of Works and Transport, that wonderful new road that you all have called, which was O'Mara Road, even though people still refer to it as O'Mara Road, but I know it's now the Lisa Morris Julian Road. There is a pothole on the exit close to getting to the Churchill Roosevelt Highway.
Already?
A pothole. Are you listening to Ministry of Works? Read my lips. A pothole is on the Lisa Morris Julian Avenue or road, whatever you call it, O'Mara Road. There is a pothole on that new road just as you're about to exit onto the Churchill Roosevelt Highway. Not enter, exit. Thank you.
All right. Southern ending. Siobhan, Ambrose Blah, Subash Mangal, Trinidad Margot, Ram Naresh, Mrs. R, Alistair Hart, who else is new there? Jasodra Ram Kalawan, didn't see you texting for a little while. Ron DeSantis Jr., Estelita Sampson, that's Miss Sampson from Vistabella. Also, where are we? Lyndon says, good morning. Despite the emotional and mental state, it cannot be agreed or mitigated that President Trump's outburst was presidential or befitting of the office he holds. Well, that's for the international people to decide. We found it funny, and so we made a joke. We made a story out of it, a light story out of it. You all can take it serious if you all want. Magic says, good morning.
Somebody say, when I am very, I talk in tongues.
What's that?
Estelita Sampson. When I am very, I talk in tongues.
And she's
Yeah,
mopping.
true. When I am vexed, I talk in tongues.
Oh, I thought it was mopping.
Yeah. Mm. No, Ram Naresh getting his underwear in a breach too. He say, Richard, quite honestly, you can't justify using obscene words. Context, nothing. That's why our world is in such
Oh, well,
decadence.
blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 whatever.
Ram Naresh say,
Did I come across clearly? Blah, 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 whatever.
lucky yeah,
You have one life to live. You have one life to live. If you want to be, I'm constrained. I can't use that word. If I use that word, oh my God, well, go through your life. That's your journey. Go forth in peace. Amen.
Mop Ram Naresh this morning.
Well, you know, gone from mopping here.
Guys, let me when do you still have greetings? Yes, you're sending
Well,
or we
some new
finish
people
it?
came in. Chris Tusa, Candice Pascal, Charles Duncan from his wife and his son, Biznat Prasad, and Ava Smith. Those were and Terry Ann George and Vincent, whoever Vincent is. All right, so that's it there.
Beautiful.
So,
Well, I'm happy that Terry and George came in there. So good morning to you, Terry and George. Margaret Thomas, good morning to you. Good morning to Kent. Terry Ann Peters, my girl, good morning to you. Okay, we're not taking calls right now. Let me say good morning to Susan, to Archbishop Ashton Clark, to Theron B, anyone on the chat, good morning to you. Brenda, good morning to you. And of course to Linda out there in London. Linda will hook up with you soon enough, don't worry. And that is it for the morning greetings here.
All right. Well, I guess Richard, he's probably stepped out to get newspapers. Is it? Where are we going? We speeding this morning, man. All right. So, well, a lot of interesting comments on the chat thus far.
No, I didn't step out to get any papers. The sunlight was starting to affect my camera.
Okay.
So that's why I adjusted it.
So,
no headlines?
No, I have no. Well, I do not have any papers today, so it'll have to be a collective reading of the newspapers today. As usual, I'll do the news.
Well, let me also wish some people happy birthday. Marcia Marslin, who is the counselor for down in Cookery there, she's celebrating her birthday today. Esther Batiste, who is Gemma's cousin, who was keeping me informed during the time when Gemma was hospitalized and so on. She is celebrating her birthday today. Kent Sebran, Robert Hussein. Robert is my good friend from Customs. Elfrida Lawrence, Michelle Liebert, Jackie Fenelon, Roxanne Long, who was also a counselor down in Cookery, where Marcia is now, Kerry Ann Cumberbatch, and Cindy Quamina. They are all celebrating birthdays today, June 25th. All right, and I could get straight into the Express as soon as I get it to load up here. The Express online today. Padarat, Imbert wasted $1.3 million, so says Public Utilities Minister Barry Padarat. Of course, former Minister Imbert already responded to that, saying he was a stranger to the truth and proved it by showing a list of actual expenses. TNT assists US with US $25 million Portugal drug bust. And that story was trending yesterday, but they didn't say where in Portugal it was the bus was in. I was surprised that they didn't say. They just said Portugal. West Indies Academy level series versus Sri Lanka, topping to lead Trinidad and Tobago under 19 Rising Stars. And of course, West Indies will play Australia today in the first test in Bridgetown, Barbados. All right, so those are the trending stories. Of course, one of the other trending stories is what we'll show on poll today, is the tactical unit, the K9 tactical unit that has been formed to operate strictly out of Piako Airport. All right, we will get into that a little later. All right, so that's the Express.
And on the news day for today, penal families counting losses after winds rip off roofs. Swat Singh TTRA will not improve revenue collection. Tobago East MP Cudjoe and Websteroid did not consult the people. US $25 million cocaine seized in Portugal and US Trinidad and Tobago joint operation. Independents back opposition. Mark breaks three-tied votes in Senate.
That's unusual, eh? That means the 15 government senators voted for the bill. the 9 independent and 6 opposition voted against it. So that's where it got 15-15. So it had to go to Wade Mark to break the tie on 3 occasions. That's very unusual.
So
it has happened, but it's unusual.
And of course, some of the other trending stories. Court rules Frank Solomon's widow must share $30 million with children. And saving time, just now. ODPM, ordered to pay $2.3 million to contractor, and 18-year-old earns partial scholarship to Howard University. Haley Jeffers gets closer to her dreams. So those are just some of the headlines in the Newsday this morning. Over to you and the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian.
Okay, so in the Guardian today, we have Barry slams PNM for picking WASA boss who could not handle 13.4 million transformation plan. All right, that's a big headline, but a long headline, I should say. Cummins hits back at Watts. Foster defense low turnout at PNM internal elections. Tanku government will consider THA's $3.71 billion budget requests. Farley still waiting for Sanders' reply on hotel. Senate President uses vote to break 3 ties. Speaker wants parliamentarians to establish a code of conduct. And tactical cops, sniffer dogs added to beef up airport security. All right. And finally, DCP Martin still on duty despite probe. So that's just some of the many headlines in the Guardian.
All right. So you know what? We could probably before we open up the lines to take some calls, because this is where we would open up to take some calls at this point. We could play that video. When I haven't vetted this video, I assume there is nothing.
Which one is that? The one with the police? The police in the airport?
This is an example of the police unit traffic through the airport with media following. Oh God, let's film the dog sniffing.
I swear we will not do it any other way. There's a consistency regardless of government.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Just introduce it and mention. I'm not saying don't have a press release, but oh Lord, that reminds me of my friend. I think I told the story already. Who, when he went for the first time in America, when he got his visa, and he went for the first time to the United States, and he went to this years and years ago, and he got in the airport in Miami, and the dogs come sniffing by.
He kick it out.
He said, "What is this dog? I'm coming to a big airport like Miami. There are stray dogs inside." And the dog from here. I dog still coming back. He said, "Move from me." And then he gives the dog a kick. That's what they hold him.
They snatch him now.
And they go question him and say, he said, "I thought it was a stray dog.
You're damaging the government property."
I didn't know it was a real dog on security business. He thought it was a stray dog in the airport. He said, "Mom, you real third world boy." But luckily, the officers just laughed and let him go.
I have seen dogs that work at different airports. Mainly London. London don't make joke with that. They have dogs when you're in the line waiting. They have dogs walking through and sniffing and so on. And the day that dog sit down, running.
Even if he tired. Even if he tired. Yeah, one.
Even if he tired, run.
And God forbid, Wendell, is a dog that like a good beef roti that you have pack up in your bag. Because you carry the beef roti, because somebody say, hey, bring a beef roti from Hot Chop. And this dog grow up as a little puppy with curry. And say, hey, I smell that curry beef roti inside that bag there, and it's smelling like Hot Chop. Let me sit down right here.
Boy, 1 year.
Hold on.
1 year, I carry up moringa bush and thing for somebody to London, right? And I didn't want to do it. I honestly didn't want to do it. First weekend, they gave me a sort of baby powder and thing to the carry up, right? For covering just had a baby. And
Baby
somebody
powder?
brought baby powder for me.
Baby powder, kind of white looking substance.
No, I left that powder that they bring for me and I went and buy my own powder. Because you know, one of the questions they asked is, did you pack this
Did
yourself?
you pack this yourself?
Are you aware of what is in here? So I leave the powder they bring for me and I went and buy my own powder and carry it. But let me tell you something.
But Wendell, they have baby powder in England.
No, at that time, we're talking 20 years ago.
Okay.
You know, but I remember when that dog came around when I had that bush, I said, Lord Father, I just prayed that dog will stop, Richard. Because I don't know what I would do because it's moringa bush. I don't even know nothing about at that time. I didn't even know nothing about moringa bush.
Yeah,
People was craving after it and whatnot, right?
That's why not to tell Trinidad if they're coming up, just show up.
Yeah, moringa with a little bit of marijuana mix up.
That's what I do now. I don't tell nobody I'm traveling anyway. And worse yet, when I'm going back, when I'm leaving them places to come back, because somebody always want to send something for somebody. But at least here, I've seen it here too. I've seen dogs here at our airport also.
All right, guys, we invited the callers, so let's see if we can take them now, please. Thank you very much.
Are they in already?
Yeah, it's a long time.
Just in case you weren't aware, I was a Steve Campbell.
Yeah,
It clearly was.
Yeah, so good morning to you.
Let me see who it is. I bet it is Miss Dabity.
You lost your bed this morning, there, Amanda. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
You would have been the second best.
Gentlemen, I'm disappointed in your contribution this morning. I'm glad that you all played that video, but I'm disappointed that you all major in the minor. One thing I don't like especially when politicians do it, but I don't like it at all, is when people insult my intelligence. And when they're expecting you to talk about this thing because you are a well-traveled man, right? And I hate it when the government did it, when they talk about we're going to build an airport in Cuba. And for the people who live south and central, we were like, well, what happiness you talking about? It already have an airport in Cuba. Why are you trying to fool the people who not from Cuba and mamagai the people who not from Cuba? I'm like, but there is and always has been an airport in Cuba. Similarly, for this video that you just showed, what I picked up was, wait now, what is new there? Why are they insulting my intelligence? There has always been dogs in the airport.
Yeah, I've experienced dogs sniffing around at the airport already, at our airport already.
So why the media and
I gather
Minister of Homeland Security are showing people that you have dog in the airport now?
Well, maybe it's a specific unit to deal specific every day.
When you see that maybe thing or they like to talk, I don't deal with that. I just deal with facts.
Oh, Lord.
So what I know is that there has always been dogs in the Trinidad and in the Piaco airport. Even in the Tobago airport, there has always been a dog unit attached to the airport.
Okay.
Now, if the conversation was that the dog unit has been issued new canines, there's a different conversation. There's a different narrative. Then it shouldn't be, the video should not have been in the airport. The video should be in Caroni, where the dog unit is. That the police dog unit has gotten 2 new canines or 4 new canines or whatever the thing may be. There's a different video. So I would leave that there. The other contribution I would like to make this morning is reference the video with the young man being arrested in Port of Spain.
Right, we didn't show that.
Safe and aside from everything that happened in the video, I agree with everything that was done. My problem is poor.
You know, we don't know what you're speaking about, right?
No, I know what he's talking about. A young student. He was in uniform, wasn't he, Lincoln?
He was in school uniform and accosted by 5 police officers.
So I didn't see that.
Right? You didn't see the video. I'm sure Richard might have it. If it's not, I will send it to you after I don't speak to Richard and Wendell. Why, if a young man is actively resisting, your first protocol wasn't to detain the young man immediately? Why 5 earlier was dealing with the young man? The young man started to actively resist. 4 earlier open up and let 1 police hold him and escort him if it's at the police station, if it's today, for him to actively resist for the 1 police now to have a body slam him. If he was dealt with, if the police have proper training, which was from the time you're actively resisting, we put in handcuffs on you for your safety and ours. And at the point where you start to actively resist, we take it to the ground, put handcuffs on you, pick you back up and escort you to the police station or the vehicle that come. I blame that whole incident on poor police training. All right, I'm gonna send the video now to you, Wendell.
All right.
Okay.
No,
thanks very much, Lincoln.
Maybe the police, maybe the other 4 know very well somebody could be filming them and they say, see me, let me pull back. I don't know. But the issue with the dogs, Lincoln, I gather that, and whilst they have always had dogs at the airport from time to time, maybe it's a specific unit posted at the airport now on a continuous basis. Because I've not always had the experience of the dogs at the airport when I come in, and I fly plenty. You understand? It has happened sporadically. So maybe it's gonna be a feature of it, everyday feature now. I don't know. The police commissioner will have his own style. He will want things done his own way. I can't nitpick over them doing that show yesterday and walking through. And the police always do that, you know. I don't know. That's the modus operandi of the TTPS, regardless of who's at the helm or who in government.
Remember the world that we live in? Social media is part of the world that we live in.
Yeah. So I wouldn't fuss too much about that one.
All right. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Yeah, just a second.
I just want to continue with the previous caller left off. My thing, I agree with him in terms of the show and tell. But remember, this is all part of 2 things, right? A new administration and a new commissioner of police who believes they have to show that something is being done. Because in the lead up to the campaign and after the end of the SOE, the concern was what new tactics would the police employ to deal with the rising crime situation, right? And I agree with you, Mr. Stevens. I have traveled. I mean, one of the most pervasive airports with those dogs and so on is Miami International, particularly on weekend flights. You see, Thursday and Friday, when all these flights coming in from South America, you might not exit that terminal after deplaning on such days for about 2 hours. So that's standard. However, my thing with respect to the tactical officers is this. If you have a QRF, which is a quick response force, I do think that is something that should be advertised. These people should just be there like we see in other international airports, moving around, and you know that they are there. That's not something that you should actively have to advertise, right? And with respect to the video, I want to disagree with your previous caller, Lincoln, and say this, right? There's an active component in the police academy curriculum called defensive tactics. And people do that refresher frequently. Guard and Emergency Branch, IATF, and all the task force officers, right? What I'm saying is that it's not proper training, you know. It's just that these fellas not carrying out what they are taught. That is and I could tell you that, right? Because like I said previously in some calls, I have 28 years service. I would have done that refresher defensive tactic course in 2013 prior to my retirement, and it is very expensive and hard. And I'm saying, for some reason, these people are not putting their training into effect, and that has to be dealt with either in a disciplinary way. But to say that they are not trained, that is not true. You have very good instructors. In fact, you all may want to reach out to one officer by the name of Olayemi Mashama. He is a master trainer, and he could tell you that there are other people as well who you want to reach out to in the academy, and they could come and tell you this is a training. In fact, Mr. Richard Taylor, you may want to engage him, and he could come and tell you how extensive that defensive tactic component is. That's why I thought to chime in on that and give you all that particular piece of information. Thanks a lot for your opportunity, as usual, gentlemen.
Richard Taylor is an officer. Is he an officer that trains?
I got somebody who trains. He's probably an officer. I don't know the name, Richard Taylor.
Wendell, is that the video that Lincoln just sent you?
Yes, I just sent it for you. And we also missed, Richard, I'm sorry guys, but we also missed that story in the front page of today's Express that the central bank governor was fired.
I don't know anything about that.
Look at on the front page of the Express. I'm wondering if that I'm seeing Hilaire fired. Someone said that to me.
Yeah, it probably is a trending story.
Just go hit him, just come in the station and do all that.
Come in the station. Disrespectful.
Need some counseling.
Hey, you ain't got to choke him to do that, baby. Big man, he's still a child.
No, handle it better than that. Just handle it better than that. Just handle it better than that.
It's always the bearded man,
I will.
Just go hit him, just come in the station and do all that.
Come in the station. Other officers go there. Disrespectful.
Need some counseling.
Hey, you ain't got to choke him to do that, baby. Big man, he's still a child.
No, handle it better than that. Just handle it better than that. Just handle it better than that.
That lady voice just be in every video when police doing something.
Coincidence, I suppose. All right. We're going back to the calls, please. All right.
Okay. So I'm now seeing the video for the first time, and he didn't have to slam him to the ground, honestly, because he's so much bigger than this little school child. Look at how big he is.
When you have so much of them, that's the next thing too. So much of you can't just handle somebody to apprehend them properly. So,
yeah. And you must be more frightened than them. Part of the response to being scared too is to fight back to it.
Yeah.
All right, we have a caller online. Caller, good morning to you.
Morning, sir. Morning, guys.
Morning.
Very nice, light note to the show this morning. Very enjoyable and engaging. Richard, I would like to say to you, I am in full support of your view on how language can be weaponized. And I want to tell you that there's also a very good clinical reason to use obscene language. Many years ago, I used to go to a therapist. She is both a speech and language therapist as well as a clinical psychologist. And I said to her, sometimes I get so anxious, I just want to blurt out an F-bomb. And she told me that is a very good thing to do. And you should always do it because the particular word and the way you have to say it inside of your, I don't know, not good at biology, whatever your airway is, it clears your airway, that particular word, if you say it with a certain force. And when you clear your airway, you're able to breathe better and you won't feel as anxious anymore. So, a lot of us have a kind of cultural stigma about words, but, not all of us do. And I'm like Richard. I'm not fussy about when people use language. I'm more fussy about people using any language to be in an angry way.
Ma'am,
And
can I tell
secondly,
you?
I'd just like to give a big shout out to all the working dogs in Trinidad and the handlers. There's so many talented people in the dog world, and some of them making waves on the international stage. And sometimes you see on Facebook little kids doing obedience with their Belgian shepherds and their German shepherds. I just wish every child in Trinidad could have a dog. Every child would be so happy. Well, thank you and have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Ma'am, is she gone?
Yes, she is.
If she has never experienced Richard in the tea room at Abercrombie Street, that sometimes it burns your ear more than the coffee burning your mouth, you know.
Oh please, I've never been like that.
Oh,
you're confusing me with Dr. Rowley. You're confusing me with Dr. Rowley when he was in the tea room.
Dr. Job.
Two doctors, them kind of cuss.
Anyhow, we're getting close to polling a little bit. Caller, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I want to just start off by saying I want to make 2 points. But the first one is I want to thank the Honorable Prime Minister Kamala Prasad-Bisasa for reintroducing the Children Life Fund Amendment Bill. That was the first on the order paper, and I want to really congratulate her for bringing that back to the fold and saving the lives of children, 6 children in this country. The next point I want to hang on is I saw a headline where some 21,000 children have been suspended from schools in Trinidad and Tobago, both primary, both and secondary. And I'm very concerned. They say in 3 years, 21,000. That is an alarming figure. And I mean, that is on an average about 7,000 children a year. We are in a real disaster, a real crisis, where the school is, as we need to fix it. With the ministry, the new minister, need to fix it. This is unacceptable how children are getting on in school.
It's an alarming figure.
They are not the place. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey.
I saw it too, but they didn't say over what period. Or maybe
No, I think they did mention a 3-year period or something like that, you know.
A 3-year period?
Yeah,
21,000? No, I don't believe that. Over 3 years? No. That's more people. That's more. That's a number higher than who writing SEA in 1 year.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
It's a lot. It is a lot. Any which way ticket. All right. Good morning to you, caller.
Hi, good morning to Richard and Wendell. You know how Richard does get picky and hot when you take calls close to polling time.
Yes,
oh, you know, so that's why you're calling. You want him picky or not?
He's really a part of the show. And let me just say that canine business, I agree with the gentleman. They must now extend it to just outside the airport and the general area, because I worked there many a time after I retire for the tourism in the departure lounge, and my tired see big dogs smelling everybody bag and purse.
Sniffing.
It's nothing new, and smelling all the luggage shut upstairs when they put your luggage on the thing to weigh. So it's nothing new. But maybe outside, what is happening, maybe they're going to be patrolling all outside and all that. But as everything else, that is what the PNM don't do. They don't have the drama when they're doing things. So like everything they do, they just have to show and tell and cut ribbon.
Yeah.
So that's my beef this morning. Let me see how they put up the thing yet.
It's coming up.
We have so many possible polls, Richard.
Thanks very much, Zeno.
We have this story with the central bank governor being fired. They say Larry Howard is tipped to replace him. Larry Howard is the former Minister of Finance in People's Partnership. Your mic is silent, Richard. Yeah.
You know why I was doing something on my phone. I don't like optically when central bank governors are fired.
Mm-hmm.
I find it reads a little bit too much of interference, and I always find central bank governors should be a little bit protected from political machinations, because central bank governors have to kind of be honest and tell you what the truth is about the economic situation and the financial situation of the country. And of course, politicians always like that message to be soft rather than clear. This is what the situation is. This is what we've had to do, blah, 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 blah. I prefer central bank governors be more protected. So when you see a headline, if this is true, central bank governor fired, I want to know under what circumstances was he fired? What was the justification for firing? Because I think the president has to do it. And it starts to raise a lot of issues in my mind, and it goes to starting to undermine confidence when dramatic things like that happen at that level, regardless of the party in power.
Yes, because it happened.
Because it happened on the PNM too.
Yes,
and I don't think that those positions should be subjected to political machinations, because you want central bank governors to be honest and to be almost brutally honest about what the financial situation of the country is, what they have to be doing in terms of monetary policy. At least that's my position on it.
And the poll is?
So that headline does not give me any comfort.
And the poll is?
We have no poll because Wendell has to send it in
We're confused at this poll right now.
I was wondering which one we should poll now. So let's go with the central bank governor. Do you support the removal of the firing of the central bank governor? Because they say it has to do with the forex issue, the fallout over the forex issue.
But we don't have all the information.
But it's on the papers.
Yeah, but a lot of people may not be. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's a simple question, and we could go based on Richard's narrative just now.
Well, no, that's just my opinion. Just those kinds of things make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it starts to read in a particular way. It may not be, but it starts to read in that way. And I wasn't comfortable when the PNM did it with, was it Jawala Rambaran?
Jawala Rambaran, yes.
And,
yes.
So I always find there is, it starts to read
undermines independence.
Interfering, especially coming from a narrative where the Prime Minister had an open discourse about telling the Auditor General, go and audit the central bank. And the central bank saying, but we have an external auditor. And some of the inside information we have had is that the Auditor General themselves pulled out from auditing the central bank. The central bank did not fire them. That's some of the inside information.
Let's come up with a poll quickly because we ain't in the news. We have a guest on the other side.
Well, but this is the poll.
It's simple. Do you support the firing of the central bank governor? It's on the front page of today's Express, people. Unless there's a fake page they give, but some people in the chat basically confirming
I see
that is so.
People are sending it too, far abroad too.
So that's our poll this morning. We just have a minute and a half, and then we'll continue to take your votes, of course, online during the news break. After the news, we'll have Member of Parliament for Aruka Lupino and new chairman-elect of the PNM, Marvin Gonzales, as our guest. Okay, he'll be our guest in the 7 o'clock hour. All right, so let's go. Richard, ready?
Yeah.
Diane Payne says no. Ram Naresh says yes. Cheryl M says no. Lester Cragwell, yes. Marlene Watson didn't vote. No, she's not here. The president, is she back? President Christine Kangaloo, is she back?
I'm not her personal secretary. I don't know.
I think Wade Mark was acting as president, but he was chairing the Senate meeting yesterday. That's strange. DL says yes. Eva St. Bryce says yes. Trini Gets Fit, no. Nazir, yes. Marlon Motley, no. Slick Money Grip, no. Alistair Hart, no. Jason Samuel, yes. Lloyd Cave, no. Gregory Boyer, no. Michael Robinson, yes. Ava Smith, no. Finbar Collins, no. Kazim Mohammed, no. Those are the votes I have thus far.
All right, so you can continue to vote on the poll because we're going to our 7 o'clock news at this point, but continue to vote on the poll and we'll give you the result. Well, we'll take the additional votes after the news and we'll give you the final results.
Yeah, we'll start from beauty culture.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs Philip Watts has accused former Youth Minister Foster Cummings of reckless mismanagement, squandermania, and abuse of public funds. Speaking in the House of Representatives yesterday, Watts revealed that Cummings, now a PNM Senator and General Secretary, hired 61 people, mostly PNM affiliates, on short-term contracts between January and April 2025 without proper approval. Watts told MPs that Cummings bypassed the permanent secretary, who is legally responsible for hiring. Many of the appointees were either unqualified or never showed up for work, despite being paid up to $23,600 a month. He named several PNM officials, including former Senator Laurel Lazama Lee Singh and former Education Minister Anthony Garcia, hired in the run-up to the general election. Watts called the practice a glaring pattern of misuse of public funds for partisan gain and said he has sent the file to the Attorney General. Energy Minister Dr. Rudal Munalal says Trinidad and Tobago could have benefited more from the oil price surge caused by the Iran conflict if the Petrotrin refinery hadn't been shut down under the previous government. During the mid-year budget debate, Munilal noted that Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which transports 20% of the world's crude, will send oil prices skyrocketing. However, Trinidad and Tobago is importing fuel instead of producing it locally because oil output is down 37% since 2015. He revealed that a new board will soon be appointed to Heritage Petroleum to restore oil production, and a refinery restart committee with 500 years collective expertise is being assembled. Munilal also discussed future energy revenues, saying the ministry is exploring partnerships with Suriname, Grenada, and Guyana. Authorities have seized $25 million in cocaine and arrested 3 foreign nationals in Portugal as part of a joint operation involving the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. A release from the U.S. Embassy said the operation took place on June 14th after months of coordination between the DEA, the TTPS vetted unit, and the Transnational Organized Crime Unit. The sailboat carrying 1,660 kilograms of cocaine departed Trinidad in early June and was intercepted off the Azores by Portuguese law enforcement. The 3 crew members, aged 43 to 51, were arrested. The operation is part of an ongoing effort to dismantle international narcotics networks that use the Caribbean as a base. A High Court judge has ordered that nearly $30 million belonging to the late legal luminary Frank Solomon, SC, must be divided equally between his widow, Margarita, and his 2 children, Daniel and Ingrid. Justice Betsy Ann Lambert Peterson ruled that Solomon's widow breached her fiduciary duty by transferring $30,191,946.71 from the Abercrombie Trust into her personal account. The judge found that Solomon had established the trust in 2012 with his wife and children as equal beneficiaries. Margarita was also removed as executrix of Solomon's estate, with the Administrator General appointed to manage the estate going forward. A High Court judge has ordered the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management to pay $2.3 million to Triple D's equipment rental for unpaid services. Triple D's had sued the ODPM for equipment rentals, haulage, and storage provided between 2010 and 2021. Although there was no formal contract, Justice Kevin Ramcharan ruled that Triple D's provided services in good faith and deserved payment. A 45-year-old man has been sent for a psychiatric evaluation after being charged with the murder of his 75-year-old father. Christopher Banfield appeared before Master Whitney Franklin on Monday, charged with killing Peter Banfield of Flanagan Town. Peter Banfield was found dead in his kitchen on June 12th. An autopsy showed he died from strangulation and multiple blunt force injuries. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In international news, at least 17 people were killed and more than 100 injured in Russian airstrikes across Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region yesterday. Schools, hospitals, and a passenger train were damaged in the rare daytime attack. President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was attending a NATO summit in the Netherlands, accused Russia of a complete disregard for life. In one dramatic incident, a train en route from Odessa to Zaporizhzhia was damaged by a nearby missile blast, with footage showing passengers covered in glass and blood. The latest attack comes as Zelensky prepares to meet US President Donald Trump at the summit to discuss defense and further sanctions. Ukrainian officials say the timing proves Russia is deliberately disrupting peace efforts and prolonging the war. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Your mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17, come enjoy Children Iron Chef Competition. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
Wake up, rise up. It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
You may not remember my name, but I know you know the face. You know the face. You may not remember my name, but I know you know the face. You know the face.
If I could count every grain of sand on the beach, wouldn't be more than every waving hand in the street. Yeah. Please pardon me if I don't know your name, but I know the face.
Last time you saw me, I was in the middle jumping up, having a time.
I could see you winding up that waist from miles away. On a truck singing a song, you know every line to it.
But you won't hear me when I call.
I may not remember your name, but trust me, I know the face. I know the face.
Hey. You may not remember my name, but I know you know the face. You know the face.
Hey. You look familiar, I just can't tell you from where or when.
It's family, it don't matter. I know you're my friend.
I forget your name along the way, okay, but just in case, I know the face.
You know the face. If I could track every foot that you've down the street, or trace it back to a fact that I was in, yeah. It's all our we who was there outside the gates and they left me in. Last time you saw me, I was in the middle jumping up, having a time.
I could see you winding up that waist from miles away. On a truck singing a song, you know every line to it.
But you won't hear me when I call.
I may not remember your name, but trust me, I know the face. I know the face.
You may not remember my name, but I know you know the face.
The mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and real talk.
And of course, that is how we fuel your day. New Era TT Radio. Remember, you can get us on the stream at newerattradio.com. Stream all throughout the day, all right? And that is for all you folks who are on our TV feed. Welcome the M&E TV family. And of course, later on, all you YouTubers, remember our next YouTube appointment will be coming at 4 o'clock this afternoon with Tony Fraser inside of the Drive Time Exchange. But of course, this is your morning show right here on New Era TT Radio. So let's see what's up next.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Have you heard? The hilarious adult comedy Married and Mischievous is coming to an end. No. Where are the last shows? I'll tell you. Port of Spain. Final 2 shows at Queen's Hall on Friday, July 4th and Saturday, July 5th at 8:30 p.m. And our absolutely last show is on Sunday, July 6th in Sapa, San Fernando. Tickets available in all usual outlets in North and South. Don't miss the comedy that everybody is raving about. Check RSRR Productions Theatre on social media. And remember, strictly adults only. It's a bacchanal.
All right, so we are back, of course, in the second hour of the breakfast show this morning. And of course, we will have our guest shortly, Marvin Gonzales, who, of course, is the MP for Aruca Lopino and also the chairman-elect of the People's National Movement. And we will be speaking to him, of course, considering those internal elections and where the PNM goes from here in terms of rebuilding, etc., etc. But of course, we're still doing our poll for this morning, and we'll still be taking, some of your votes. We could do the voting stuff and take some of your votes at this point.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we start back again from beauty culture, right?
Yeah.
No. Beauty culture, no. Carol Guevara, no. Estelita Sampson, no. Andre says, he's confirmed that the President Kangaloo is back. I vote no. What will be interesting to find out is if the decision was taken before Christine Kangaloo came back. That will be interesting to find out. Miguel Gonzalez says no. Sheppy 65 says no. Cheryl Henry says no. And I did cause to delete a comment earlier on. People don't spoil the show. Jaron Joseph also says yes, she is back. So he didn't vote. Carlisle Cupid didn't vote. Marlene Saunders says no, and Renal Roberts says no. All right.
So, Charles, do you have any votes?
Yeah. We have a whole lot of no's here. Captain Ron says no. Joyce Phillips says no. Black Pearl says no. Zena says no. Valerie says no. And there's one other person with no name, just a number so far. All right, the person did not vote. Okay. Just says I hope now. Right, and Pauline says no. Yes, a whole lot of no's there for you, Richard.
All right, any further votes, Wendell? We can wrap it up here.
No, that's it. Renal Roberts is my last vote.
Yeah, wrap it up and pelt away the people. He enjoys that, Richard. Wendell, he gets us sort of high on it, Yes. If only watch this
morning, do you support the firing of the central bank governor, Mr. Hilaire? That's our poll this morning. That's breaking news on certainly at least one of the front pages, one of the days. Firing of the central bank governor. So do you support the firing of the central bank governor? We had 33 people voting in the allotted time. Of the 33 people voting, 26 of you said no, you do not support the firing of the central bank governor, and 7 of you said yes. So 26 of you said no, and 7 of you said yes. So the nays have it by a big majority this morning. They do not support the firing of the central bank governor. And that's it for our poll this morning. Done and finished. All right. So, of course, we can move straight into our interview at this point with Marvin Gonzales. I know he is backstage, so let me just bring him in. But, before we do that.
I found out how I could see it, Richard. Is there a little bar that I needed to scroll down on?
Yeah.
I can't see it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little. I have an extra bar beside there that I have to scroll down on to see who's at the bottom there.
Who's at the bottom? Yeah, especially when it's full.
Yeah.
Thanks for clearing up all of those housekeeping details for the general members of the public. They appreciate it.
Well,
Yeah.
All right, so of course we have Marvin Gonzales this morning. I don't know if he's there. Good morning, Marvin. Are you hearing us?
He's not on yet, eh?
Yeah, maybe he's having some tea or
something. Some tea.
Some coffee. Some water.
He just wouldn't join us. What's wrong with him?
Let me take him back off until he's ready. But we're moving into that interview with Marvin Gonzales. So so that's what's up next. Once I see him visually come up here, I'll bring him in.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to find out, as I said earlier on, if the decision to remove the central bank governor was taken prior to Ms. Kangaloo Garcia coming back in office. Because Wade Mark was acting as the president, not so? As president of the Senate, he was acting as president of the Republic. So that will be interesting to find out if that decision was taken during his time as acting president, which he has full powers as a president. You understand? Or Christine Kangaloo Garcia took it when she came back in office, right? We don't know the timing of anything. I don't know if the article says it, but maybe Ram Naresh, who apparently know almost going to say every damn thing. Everything could tell us.
Yeah, but they would have been acting on.
All right, so I'm bringing in Marvin Gonzales into the mix.
Good
morning, Marvin.
I almost wear red today too, Marvin? He's looking at his computer, but I'm not sure if he's
probably
hearing us as yet. You hearing us?
If you are wave.
Put on your microphone, Mr. Gonzales.
Oh, right. I'm hearing now. I'm so sorry. Good morning.
Every morning I've had a deal with that with Richard,
Yeah.
Every morning.
And he's the expert, eh?
I'm so sorry. I realized I muted the laptop because the last time I used it was in Parliament. So I muted it and I forgot.
Yeah, Richard has come with the same excuses in the morning.
Oh my God, I wonder where Wendell went. All right, so good morning, Marvin.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate
Thank you for having me, and I have to apologize for not appearing on the last occasion when I was invited to participate in a program where the other contenders for chairmanship, I believe, were also present, and I had some other commitments, so I apologize for that.
But you certainly operated like you won already, and you went on to win. I've been giving you some fatigue, yeah?
I know.
But congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
On being a chairman-elect of the People's National Movement. I don't know if it's the second most important position in the People's National Movement. Am I right, Wendell?
Party position, yes.
Yeah. In terms of the vision, I guess, ultimately the vision and where the party goes. And I know the People's National Movement has had some challenges coming out of the election because a third of your base just wasn't interested in voting for the People's National Movement. whatever reason, I mean, I know and people have speculated on what the reasons were, they felt, whatever. And I'd want to relitigate that. But how do you recognize that there is some internal fracturing that has taken place in the People's National Movement? And how does this new executive under your stewardship and Penelope Beckles-Robinson hope to heal those wounds to rebuild the party?
Well, first to begin, Wendell and Richard, I want to thank the membership of the People's National Movement for placing their trust and their confidence in me by electing me as the next chairman of the party. I am really humbled by that vote of confidence. And I want to give the assurance to all members of the PNM and all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago that I will do whatever I can, and I will give it my best shot to ensure that the PNM is rebuilt, is remodeled, refashioned, and to start preparing itself to regain governance in Trinidad and Tobago, notwithstanding the fact that it is going to take quite a lot of work between now and whenever the next general elections is called. So to answer Richard's question, yes, there has been a fracturing of the PNM. It was quite clear. This internal election campaign was a bruising one. I did not expect it to be like that. What I have seen PNM members or people posing as PNM members saying about, talking about their colleagues and posting about their colleagues on social media, especially I have seen some posts regarding myself. It's quite stunning. Oftentimes I wondered whether or not they are really and genuinely PNM people or people posing as PNM people, because I somehow suspect that the UNC was also involved in this campaign, behind the shadows. And that is quite possible, because
that's not abnormal.
No, that is, yes, it's not, it's possible, and it's not abnormal. You're right, because so you have to look at it from that context. Opposing political parties, they tend to get involved in the internal affairs of the other parties in order to cause the kind of division that you would have seen. It was quite unfortunate, but the healing process has to start. The good thing Wendell and Richard is that when we lost the general elections on April 28th, the political leader-elect started a community outreach, or constituency outreach, I call it like that, going around the country, meeting with the executives of the various constituencies and people and PNM members to hear directly from them their concerns and what, in their opinion, would have contributed to the loss. And so far she has gone to constituencies that the PNM lost. For example, in La Brea, in Point Fortin, Central Trinidad, Sangre Grande. I participated in some of these meetings as well. I can tell you guys, it has been very startling to hear PNM people and talk about how their feelings and the internal issues in some of those constituencies, the executives and their relationships with their MPs and previous MPs. And in my opinion, the reason why this could not have happened yesterday, this could not have happened a year ago, this must have been festering for a very, very long time to have resulted in what is happening today. And of course, the outcome of the April 28th elections. Mm-hmm. And in my personal opinion, this is not the opinion of the political leader. This is Marvin Gonzalez speaking as well. I'm now the chairman-elect of the PNM. So I guess my opinion now being expressed openly in this way will be seen in a particular way. But I'm most comfortable being truthful. Let's put it like that. So I'm going to express my profound opinion on what I believe would have caused all of these problems in constituencies across the country. Had there been good leadership from the very top, going out into the constituencies, speaking with the leadership of these constituencies, talking to the party groups and the constituency executives about whatever challenges they may be experiencing in the constituencies, the outcome of the election might have been quite different. Because when a political leader, a chairman, or an executive of a party visit a constituency to hear directly from them the issues affecting them, I think their presence alone can bring about the necessary healing that might be necessary in those constituencies. And the reason why these things were allowed to fester in the way that they festered, in my view, it is because there was an absence of leadership at the constituency levels. And therefore, it contributed to a great divide and a great disconnect between the national leadership and the leadership at the constituency levels. In many instances, MPs were not having good relationships with their executives for one reason or the other. I mean, if you listen to the news conference yesterday, I'll just use that as an example between at the opposition leader's office, where Minister Cummings, or Senator Cummings rather, he, in response to the Minister of Sports and the MP for La Hoqueta Talparo, let me just use this as an example. And who, as we know, was once the chairman, the PNM chairman of that constituency. He is a businessman. Nothing is wrong with that. He got some contracts under the PNM government and did not perform in the way that I guess he was supposed to perform. And those contracts over the years were terminated under some of the state agencies. So he's a bitter man. He's angry with his former colleague, his MP, because the contracts were terminated for lack of performance, allegedly. And that in itself caused a deterioration in relationship between the chairman, the sitting MP, and of course, it filtered down into the executive. Now,
you know,
go ahead. Now, if these things are not managed, and I'm just using that as an example, because as we go around the country, speaking to the executives directly, the chairman of the executives of the party and members of the executive and PNM members, the issues are very similar. No different, but they are very similar. And had there been sound leadership at the level of Balize House, perhaps the outcome would have been different. I'm just saying, I could be entirely wrong, but I am just saying sometimes we need to sit and listen to people and sometimes bring calm to troubled waters.
But are you speaking here about leadership as opposed to the leader? Because I'll tell you why. Because
leadership.
Because Mr. Cummings himself was part of the leadership, huh?
Well, I'm just a leadership as a team.
Yeah.
As a team, it can't just be one person.
Right. Understood.
Senator Cummings was one person,
right.
But he was one person, albeit a very important position. But he's part of a team who could have gone into that constituency.
Well, sorry, Wanda. I heard what you said, Mr. Gonzalez. But with regard to the Foster Cummings example, Foster Cummings versus Philip Watts example, which is what you're really playing out there. But it has to be more than a better chairman, because obviously there were issues in that constituency for the constituency, and I think all PNM candidates generally lost about 3,000 votes from the previous election, roughly. But there must have been something else besides the bitterness of the former chairman, which you're alluding to, and let's say alleged dissatisfaction.
Yes.
Is it that Mr. Cummings wasn't hands-on enough then in the constituency? One, to recognize that his chairman was really now battling against him. Let's go down that road.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore be more sensitive to what the actual issues were on the ground and how people were going to vote or not vote that could have affected him retaining the seat. Did he have a huge blind spot to it? Is that what happened?
Well, one can say so. I think that is a good point. But there are other issues that may have also contributed to it. But I think that is a very sound point that you're raising, because you're a member of parliament, you're a minister of government, you're dealing with national responsibilities. You depend on your chairman to to be hands-on, to deal with the day-to-day issues of the politics in the constituency. Mr. Watts is well known in the constituency of La Hoqueta, all right, and his roots in La Hoqueta, my understanding, are very deep. And when you have that kind of issues taking place between the MP and the executive, it can have really dire consequences at the ground level, because persons now will take sides, and they may tend to take the side of the person who they are closest with. So these things have to be managed. Let me tell you, I looked at the swearing in the parliament, and you see all of these people, some of those MPs who are now in the government and sitting in constituencies formerly held by the PNM. And what you're seeing, Richard and Wendell, is that some of these people once were screened and attended screening at Balize House. Many of them. And for one reason or the other, they did not get through and they went across to the UNC. But a common denominator in all of that, and what you are seeing, is petty grouses, personal grouses by some of those persons who believe that they have a grouse with the Prime Minister, they have a grouse with Minister Young, they have a grouse with the MP or this particular minister. And the way to get back at that grouse is to join the UNC and be the opponent to the PNM in those various areas. A lot of them do not subscribe to UNC philosophy. And they don't care. And the UNC obviously doesn't care whether some of these people subscribe to their philosophy. But the common thread in all of that is that many of those persons once would have gone to Balize House for screening, did not get through, or have some petty grouse with a PNM person and or former PNM minister, and their way of getting back at the party is to join the UNC in this so-called coalition of interest, and now they are sitting in the parliament. In my view,
on both sides.
Of course. But
I have a saying, well, not I have a saying, Enoch Powell has a saying that all political careers end in failure unless they are cut off at a happy juncture. All, so
let me hear that again.
All political careers end in failure unless they are cut off at a happy juncture.
It's supposed to be cut off at a happy juncture.
Sorry?
I believe in that. I believe political careers should end. Someone should bring an end to their political career when they are their highest. Not when they're rejected. I personally believe in that.
Yeah. I'll tell you something again whilst we're on the politics and on constituencies and so on, because I would have heard it. I mean, I'm a member of the People's National Movement. I served at certain levels. but I'm also in the media, and for the last 20 odd years. So and I had heard, and I remember when we first interviewed, I think it's Robert Lahon and a couple other people, I had pointed out to them that my understanding was that certain constituencies, if we had gone back with the MPs, we would have lost them. And apparently the hierarchy knew that. And we still went back with those MPs. I can tell you St. Joseph was one.
Yes.
Tunapuna was one.
Yes.
Toko Sani Grande was one. Those were constituencies that once we put back the people, the MPs, that we would have lost it. And so said, so done.
But
I honestly didn't think it would have happened as badly as it did.
Yes.
But that's what happened.
But what is interesting, gentlemen and viewers and listeners, what is very interesting, right? A lot of the issues were personality issues that had to be managed, because the two losses that really bothered me tremendously was really three losses that bothered me tremendously, because I know personally of the amount of work the government did, especially when I under the Ministry of Public Utilities. You see ministry, you see that Toko Sangre Grande, you see Point Fortin and Labrie. I can tell you, the government spent hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure upgrades, sporting facilities, improvement in utilities, etc. Just to name a few, under Ministry of Youth Development. And the outcome of the elections, it bothered me. And it really taught me a very hard lesson. That no amount of infrastructure work that you believe that you can do in a constituency can guarantee the outcome, a positive outcome of an election.
Yeah, Tobago was a classic example of that.
I can tell you guys that.
Yeah, but it's part of the problem, Marvin. The PNM was in power for 10 years. 10 years, of course, it's a difficult election to win the third. It's difficult. You start off on a difficult because people have a good sense of you after a decade.
They just want to change.
So sometimes they just want to change. But also, you have a sense of party hierarchy being arrogant. Because after your 10 years in power, you kind of get, some people kind of get arrogant, and some people...
Very cool.
And say that again?
I say I'm cold.
Yeah. So they get insensitive to listening to the base, because they figure, well, we've done it two 5-year periods in a row. We can do it for 3 5-year periods. And I know the strategists of the PNM probably understood the change factor, which is why they went with the Stuart Young selection, inverted commas, into the leadership position, as giving a young, youthful, fresh face coming from Dr. Rowley to give the impetus and energy for that third attempt at getting another 5-year term. But of course, it didn't work, because there was obviously an ingrained dissatisfaction by a lot of voters for how the party was, one, I suppose, treating with them, one, in terms of supporters of the PNM, and two, how they treated with the country in terms of the objections that some of the country had, because some of those voters would have voted in the prior election would not have been hardcore voters. They would have been voters who would be transient or just not vote at all. And they may have been like, I'm not appreciating the level of arrogance sometimes in how some ministers speak to us, or even sometimes how the prime minister, because the prime minister was criticized a lot of the times, sometimes how he spoke to the population. A lot of people felt it was condescending. Some people felt it was always, you are buffing us, you're not communicating with us. And of course, he said very fatalistic statements, which turned out to be true, that I'm not in love with office, and if you have a problem, get rid of me, and that's who said so done. And even though, of course, he got rid of himself, to be fair, he retired, but all of that contributed to the mix of how the PNM's brand was being showcased. And I don't know if the strategists were in tune enough that the brand had an image problem.
Richard, I think you're very spot on this particular issue. And as a matter of fact, I believe that is what contributed to the loss of the elections. that you couldn't fault the PNM on its performance. I mean, almost across the board in every ministry, the ministers did perform. In my constituency, in constituencies all over Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, no government over the last 20 years invested in La Brea and Southwest Trinidad in the way that the PNM did over the last 5 years. Look at the amount of work that was done in Tobago. See, the airport, the A.N.R. Robinson International Airport, work that was done in Roxborough, in Tobago, the new fast ferries, just to name a few. You couldn't fault the PNM, in my view, in the way in which it delivered from an infrastructure perspective across the country, the way it managed the economy in difficult circumstances. But somewhere along the line, we were speaking to the mindset or the mind of people and not resonating with the heart of people. And people felt as though the party, despite its performance in government, was somehow disconnected with the everyday concerns of people. The utterances of its leaders, were not coming across as though there was a genuine and sincere connection with the concerns of everyday people and the heart of citizens. And
do you think you were part of that problem and how you communicated?
I guess you all can tell me. If you all believe that I communicated in a harsh way, if I was condescending, I was very much cognizant of all of these things. And that's the reason why I tried my best to go about my duties, making myself accessible to the media and speaking to people, not in a condescending way, but speaking to people as a human being so that they can understand my role as a minister in the government. That's the reason why I would have gone into communities. A lot of the projects that I would have done as Minister of Public Utilities would have been in communities to improve the supply of water and utility services, communities that are unserved and underserved and what have you. Because what I was really doing is to bring central government directly into the heart of communities where they would have never seen that level of or that presence of central government. So if you look at the Ministry of Public Utilities under my leadership, there was a genuine and targeted focus towards communities, towards improving the lives of people in communities across Trinidad and Tobago. And that's why I can tell you of the work that we did in Tobago, the work that we did in Sangre Grande, Central Trinidad, La Brea, Point Fortin, and what have you. I went down in Cedros and spent almost an entire weekend. I remember running through Cedros one morning. I got up early to run through, and the people in Cedros at 7 o'clock in the morning, they were shocked to see me.
I don't think as a Minister of Public Utilities you can be faulted. I think you were one of the stellar ministers in that position, because it's a difficult ministry, because you're dealing with water, which already in itself is a powder keg waiting to explode, because it's such an issue across the country.
A lot of improvements were made.
And I agree with you. I think your performance as the Minister of Public Utilities, I think, was pretty stellar in that position with regard to especially previous ministers and stuff. I think a lot of people felt a lot was happening with regard to what
we didn't see any protests for water for a while.
You saw a lot of things happening with regard to water, and it happened under your stewardship. But getting back to the issue of the brand PNM, when you said the comment about cut back on ham and macaroni pie and going to the movies and eat, pay for what more important, when you told citizens that was one of the examples that was used by I think it maybe was used by the UNC. It was the general elections.
No, it was fabricated by the UNC. Let me tell you this. It was fabricated by the UNC. That macaroni pie issue or comment was made together with Shamfa Kajo in Tacarigua, where we give our personal story. Shamfa gave her personal story about growing up in a family, I think of 7 or 10 of them, where they have to share food and they have to share clothes. And when she was walking through her community, she was called one dress or something like that. So Shamfa gave her personal story about growing up in Tobago with parents struggling to maintain, their siblings and the sacrifices they had to make. And I gave my personal story as well, where not every week your parents could afford macaroni pie and what have you. And sometimes we have to cut back on it. And we have to understand sometimes your parents cannot afford to give you certain things. So we were giving our personal life story that sometimes family have to come together and make cutbacks because of challenges that they are experiencing at that point in time. The UNC took that and spin it around to say that I, Minister Gonzalez, was telling the country that that is what they had to do. You understand?
Yeah.
So I cannot give my personal story and my personal life story, and Shamfa cannot give her personal life story. But what they were able to do successfully was to take our comments, spin it around to make it look as though we were telling the country, you have to do that. And whilst we were living a different story, a different life. That simply was not the case. We were giving our personal story, giving our personal life experience to tell the audience who was there listening to us that we are ordinary human beings like you, and we understand the challenges that you are facing.
And I'm glad that opens up my next question, MP Gonzalez, because in my opinion, I mean, I've been around in terms of the PR aspect of the PNM for a long time, social media and so on. Our PR has always been terrible, long before you all came into the politics, and it seems that we're still going down the road of poor PR. Because what you are explaining here, I'm sure that could have been explained by our public relations officer, by our social media people, and we could have, because the UNC, let's face it, the UNC and the PR and the social media, they are top line. They are top of the line. But we have fell down on that job in terms of disseminating our information and our counter.
And pushing back.
Yeah.
And pushing back. I made the comment, in Tobago in one of our campaign meetings. It was at the Buku Community Center 2 weeks ago. And I told them that is where the PNM has fallen flat. The PNM is on its back. The PNM is taking licks every single day with an avalanche of lies by social media people every single day. And a party that has been in government for 9 years, going on 10 years, could not have come up with a strategy to push back at the lies being said about it over the years. Lies that have taken root in the mindset of our children and our people. So much so that even PNM people were spreading the UNC propaganda against the PNM.
Yeah.
You understand? And I told them that if I were to become the chairman of the party, and now that I'm the chairman-elect, one of my focus as chairman of the party is to ensure that we have a social media strategy that is going to push back against the avalanche of lies being told to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, particularly on social media. I give you all that undertaking here this morning. That is going to be a different PNM where our social media strategy is concerned. And the UNC is going to be called out on every single day, at every single moment. And they are not going to be allowed to brainwash the people of this country with lies. Because I was telling Dr. Eric Williams. Dr. Eric Williams said in the 1960s that every PNM member must be a propagandist of the PNM. But he didn't say propagandist in a negative way. He said that you have to be a propagandist because you must go into the maxis, you must go into the taxis, you must go into the communities, and you must talk about the policies and programs of the PNM. But he said in order to do so, you must educate yourself on the policies and programs of the PNM by listening to the media, listening to the parliament, educating yourself. I think it was the Balize Tribune, the PNM newspapers, educating yourself. And when you do so, every single member of the PNM must speak the truth and the gospel of the PNM. That has changed tremendously. It has changed tremendously. And as a result of that, the UNC now and their supporters, they are very aggressive on social media to spread their lies. They are very strategic. And PNM people, unfortunately, I guess, not being fully informed of the policies and programs of the party, especially when it was in government, could not have pushed back against the lies because its strategists and those who managed its social media campaign and strategy fell flat on the job.
Yeah. Well, MP Gonzalez, and a lot of people are putting it in the chat too, that we have also now put back a failed PRO and a social media, somebody in the social media department who failed at communications because he was in charge of communications of the government. How would you respond to that?
I understand that. And, just 2 days ago, we were in Parliament and Simon and I are good friends. And I was telling him, because a lot of people sent, they send messages, and we have a very open, friendship where, the negative remarks that people make, but frank remarks and concerns, we would share it. And I will listen to this voice notes. I will listen to this message where people have concerns as to whether or not you can be a successful SMO because they regard you as, as a failed person or minister when you were in charge of Ministry of Communication. I can tell you guys, without going into much details, I was in the government, and I am aware of the challenges that Simon faced as a Minister of Communication. I don't want to go into details, but I can tell you, the former Minister of Communication, Mr. Simon D. Nobrega, the criticism that he is getting where communication is concerned is to a great extent unfair, because you had certain and other persons being involved, and he was not given the resources and he was not given the flexibility to do what he wanted to do. And we are aware of it. We are aware of it. And many of those persons were outside of the cabinet. And many of them played a role in the failed campaign of the PNM. We are aware of it. And they know themselves. And today today he has to walk, unfortunately, with the stigma of being a failed Minister of Communication and being blamed for the outcome. But I can tell your listeners and your viewers today, it is not the case. Unfortunately, given the role that he played, he has to take personal responsibility, and he's being seen in this particular way. But it's very unfortunate, because I know personally the challenges that he faced by some of his colleagues and persons on the outside who had access.
Well, time will tell. I mean, he is now the social media officer, so he has a chance to stamp his authority on disseminating information now.
But thankfully, some of those persons, they are no longer in charge.
Okay.
Thank God for the outcome of the elections.
Yeah. So I know you are also holding the office of Chief Whip. Explain to our listeners, what exactly is a Chief Whip responsible for? Because I've known the term Chief Whip, but a lot of people don't know what is a Chief Whip.
The Chief Whip is the member of Parliament on the opposition side that manages the opposition in the Parliament, in parliamentary proceedings, and holding the government to account. So the Chief Whip manages the flow of the debate from the opposition side by looking at how the government is managing its debate, putting in the various speakers, and the Chief Whip will determine through caucus, before Parliament, during Parliament, how it is going to manage the role of the opposition during parliamentary proceedings. The Chief Whip is also the one responsible for ensuring that we hold government ministers to account by posing urgent questions, statements, questions on notice, questions for oral answers on issues of the day, and ensuring that the government is held to account. So the Chief Whip is the one in the lower house that manages the opposition to ensure that the government is held to account, and to ensure that the government feet is held to the fire. On the opposing side, you have the leader of government business. So you have the leader of government business on the government side, who unfortunately is Minister Padarat. And on my side, which is the opposition PNM side, you have the chief whip. So the leader of government business manages the government in the parliament. And the chief whip is the MP that manages the opposition, ensuring that the opposition, the way in which it conducts itself by posing questions, motions, and putting in speakers, hold the government to account. It's a very, very important.
Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately it's Barry Padarat. You should just say it's Barry Padarat.
Well, I was going to.
You have to qualify it with an adjective.
I was going to ask him, Richard.
Why?
It means.
I think Trinidadians and Tobagonians are tired of political hostility, and it kind of just feeds into that. So just keep it, I'm on this side, he's on that side, and we have.
All right, okay.
But he and MP Padarat will have to have a close relationship.
So I retract that, Richard. So
all right, so my speaker's gavel is down.
Let me just.
I just wanted to ask one question. One of the fractures, well, a perceived fracture, there may be none. Let me preface that by saying that, is the issue of who, and I brought this up with Robert Land yesterday, the issue of what I would call the loyalist to Dr. Rowley and the loyalist to Robinson. There seems to be some level of fracture, maybe it's not deep, between the both styles of leadership and people's loyalty. And you try to read in between the lines in terms of what people write. And Robert Land would have written a missive about Stuart Young and how he felt, and he tried to explain it yesterday. And then you had Camille Robinson Wages also coming out and putting a public post concerning the internal elections. And it seemed to me as if it was a reference to people's criticism of Dr. Rowley and what we called, or I should say I called, snarky comments on the platform. They didn't mention Dr. Rowley, but you knew it was him they were referring to. And obviously some of the criticism leveled at Penelope Beckles-Robinson, that she's too acquiescent, she's too soft, she's too quiet, and you have a whole band of anonymous people called the change makers, and all of that, in the mix. How do you respond to that? I know we're about to close off the interview, but how would you respond to those kind of fractures? Do you see them as fractures, or am I misreading it?
No, they are fractures, but it's how you manage them, and I think they are quite normal. When Dr. Rowley assumed leadership of the PNM, it was very difficult to get the Manningites, I think that's what they call them, the persons who were very loyal to Patrick Manning, who perhaps never accepted Dr. Rowley. Many of them sat in his own cabinet and would have given him hell when he assumed leadership of the party. And those things I see it as normal. I don't make heavy weather of it, quite frankly, because that is the nature of politics. People, they believe in a political personality and somehow convince themselves that the organization cannot move on without that person being at the helm, or someone that he or she may sanction. So it's just how you manage it. But honestly, I don't make heavy weather of it. I'm quite aware of persons who are loyal to Dr. Rowley and they have grave concerns about the leadership style of Penny Beckles. I don't think that will go away easily, but I think over time these things are going to smoothen themselves out and the party is going to settle down. And but I don't waste too much time on that kind of thing, because I would have seen the transition myself from Patrick Manning, to Dr. Rowley, and those same issues remained, and eventually people came around and they supported Dr. Rowley. When Dr. Rowley was appointed leader of the opposition in 2010. Now,
he froze up there. Did he freeze or I froze?
Yeah, but he eventually came around, done quite a few of them. So I see it as quite normal. in the politics and the political evolution in the transition. But this new executive with a new political leader has a serious duty now in decisions that it makes from when they assume responsibility of the party to ensure that we bring all on board and ensure that the party settles down. And even those who opposed us in this campaign, they must now be brought on board because they are not political opponents. They have a role to play in the party settling down so that we can focus on the job at hand, which is to prepare the PNM for government. But these things are going to settle itself. Honestly, I don't lose sleep over it.
I'm glad.
And that's why we're going to have to leave it, Marvin, because...
Richard, hold on a second. I'm glad you said that, because let me close by saying I was going to make that recommendation that even in the social media, as the social media officer, Simon should invite the others who contested against him.
Dominic Romain.
Dominic.
Well, sorry that I have to breach a confidential conversation with Simon and I. But Simon and I already spoke about ensuring that Dominic Romain plays a central role in managing the social media campaign and pushback that we intend to launch for the PNM. He has a role to play. Chinua Allen has a role to play. And all of them, Hove Masai, they have a role to play. So my doors are going to be very open to all and sundry. You understand? To ensure that all of us put our hands together, hands on deck to ensure that the PNM gets back into office.
Yeah, it requires.
So thank you, Marvin, for speaking this morning. We appreciate you. Time is upon us.
I'm talking about.
Yeah, because it's becoming a PNM group party meeting. Thank you so much, Marvin, for speaking with us. We appreciate you taking the time as usual, and of course we will be speaking to you in the future.
Oh yeah, we have a lot to talk about. And I'm really looking forward to the opportunity because we are going to recommence our constituency outreach as soon as we get into office. The executive or the leadership of the PNM will continue to go out into the communities to begin the rebuilding process, and it must start in the communities.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, and of course, have a good rest of the day on this week.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Of course, that was MP Marvin Gonzales, PNM chairman-elect, and of course, chief whip in the parliament, joining us this morning. All right, we'll do 8 o'clock news now, and then when we come back, we'll wrap up.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs Philip Watts has accused former Youth Minister Foster Cummings of reckless mismanagement, squandermania, and abuse of public funds. Speaking in the House of Representatives yesterday, Watts revealed that Cummings, now a PNM senator and general secretary, hired 61 people, mostly PNM affiliates, on short-term contracts between January and April 2025 without proper approval. Watts told MPs that Cummings bypassed the permanent secretary, who is legally responsible for hiring. Many of the appointees were either unqualified or never showed up for work, despite being paid up to $23,600 a month. He named several PNM officials, including former Senator Laurel Lazama-Lee Singh and former Education Minister Anthony Garcia, hired in the run-up to the general election. Watts called the practice a glaring pattern of misuse of public funds for partisan gain and said he has sent the file to the Attorney General. Energy Minister Dr. Rudal Munalal says Trinidad and Tobago could have benefited more from the oil price surge caused by the Iran conflict if the Petrotrin refinery hadn't been shut down under the previous government. During the mid-year budget debate, Munilal noted that Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which transports 20% of the world's crude, will send oil prices skyrocketing. However, Trinidad and Tobago is importing fuel instead of producing it locally because oil output is down 37% since 2015. He revealed that a new board will soon be appointed to Heritage Petroleum to restore oil production, and a refinery restart committee with 500 years collective expertise is being assembled. Munilal also discussed future energy revenues, saying the ministry is exploring partnerships with Suriname, Grenada, and Guyana. Authorities have seized $25 million in cocaine and arrested 3 foreign nationals in Portugal as part of a joint operation involving the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. A release from the U.S. Embassy said the operation took place on June 14th after months of coordination between the DEA, the TTPS vetted unit, and the Transnational Organized Crime Unit. The sailboat carrying 1,660 kilograms of cocaine departed Trinidad in early June and was intercepted off the Azores by Portuguese law enforcement. The 3 crew members, aged 43 to 51, were arrested. The operation is part of an ongoing effort to dismantle international narcotics networks that use the Caribbean as a base. A High Court judge has ordered that nearly $30 million belonging to the late legal luminary Frank Solomon, SC, must be divided equally between his widow, Margarita, and his 2 children, Daniel and Ingrid. Justice Betsy Ann Lambert-Peterson ruled that Solomon's widow breached her fiduciary duty by transferring $30,191,946.71 from the Abercrombie Trust into her personal account. The judge found that Solomon had established the trust in 2012 with his wife and children as equal beneficiaries. Margarita was also removed as executrix of Solomon's estate, with the Administrator General appointed to manage the estate going forward. A High Court judge has ordered the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management to pay $2.3 million to Triple D's equipment rental for unpaid services. Triple D's had sued the ODPM for equipment rentals, haulage, and storage provided between 2010 and 2021. Although there was no formal contract, Justice Kevin Ramcharan ruled that Triple D's provided services in good faith and deserved payment. A 45-year-old man has been sent for a psychiatric evaluation after being charged with the murder of his 75-year-old father. Christopher Banfield appeared before Master Whitney Franklin on Monday, charged with killing Peter Banfield of Flanagan Town. Peter Banfield was found dead in his kitchen on June 12th. An autopsy showed he died from strangulation and multiple blunt force injuries. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In international news, at least 17 people were killed and more than 100 injured in Russian airstrikes across Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region yesterday. Schools, hospitals, and a passenger train were damaged in the rare daytime attack. President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was attending a NATO summit in the Netherlands, accused Russia of a complete disregard for life. In one dramatic incident, a train en route from Odessa to Zaporizhzhia was damaged by a nearby missile blast, with footage showing passengers covered in glass and blood. The latest attack comes as Zelensky prepares to meet US President Donald Trump at the summit to discuss defense and further sanctions. Ukrainian officials say the timing proves Russia is deliberately disrupting peace efforts and prolonging the war. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio. Net Radio.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
S&H Rum Box, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rum Box. Drinking out of the box.
Have you heard? The hilarious adult comedy Married and Mischievous is coming to an end. No. Where are the last shows? I'll tell you. Port of Spain. Final 2 shows at Queen's Hall on Friday, July 4th and Saturday, July 5th at 8:30 p.m. And our absolutely last show is on Sunday, July 6th in Sapa, San Fernando. Tickets available in all usual outlets in North and South. Don't miss the comedy that everybody is raving about. Check RSRR Productions Theatre on social media. And remember, strictly adults only. It's a bacchanal.
Of course, this is where we wrap up the breakfast show this morning. Of course, we would have spoken to Marvin Gonzales in the last hour concerning, PNM bacchanal of sorts. So yeah, this is where we wrap it up.
All right. Don't forget, today is the funeral of Gemma Richards. Her funeral is at, hold on, I get a message from Gemma. Phone is kind of eerie this morning, right? Her funeral service is at the Grace Communion Church on Sunset Boulevard in Samaru Village. All right, I'm going to send you guys directions now. It's at 1:30 p.m. today. All right, the funeral service for our darling Gemma is today. All right, at 1:30 p.m. All right, see you all there. Folks, remember, one life, live it and live it to it.
Absolutely. Have a great day, whatever you do. Remember, the smile and laugh is great for your health. Keep on the stream, newerattradio.com, on TuneIn and on the web. And of course, you can keep up with what the later programming is for the rest of the day.
And mop today if you could.
Have a fantastic day. And thanks for keeping us company for the last 2 hours. Plus, we appreciate you choosing us always. And don't think that we don't. Have a great day and speak to you bright and early tomorrow morning.
This has been The Breakfast Show.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The Breakfast Show.